Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. Jeffrey Cooperstein here with you guys. On today's show, we are breaking down the three possible targets the Mavericks could sign with the mid-level exception. $5.7 million is what the Mavericks have to use here in 2025 NBA free agency. And with their roster already stacked with a lot of players, it's going to be a limited choice of options for the Mavericks going forward. Like I said, it's $5.7 million, and the Mavericks are in the luxury tax this year. So that's all they will have to operate with. We all know the Mavericks' biggest need is point guard. And according to Mark Stein, the Mavericks were going to use that MLE early in free agency. It could come within the first hour of free agency opening on Monday at 5 p.m. Central Time. So stay on the lookout because the Mavericks will be doing business pretty early, is what it sounds like. The three guys we're going to talk about today are the three guys that have been mentioned all throughout this process with the Dallas Mavericks. It's Chris Paul, Malcolm Brogdon, and D'Angelo Russell. So we'll break them down one by one here on today's show. And let's start with Chris Paul, who I think is the best option for the Mavericks going forward this season. He's 40 years old, but he can still play at a pretty high level here in the NBA. In 82 games last year with 82 starts, he averaged almost 9 points, 7.5 assists, shot 38% from the field, was a really good floor general for the Spurs last year, and could certainly be a mentor to younger guys in the locker room like Cooper Flagg, who are going to be into a situation where the Mavericks are trying to compete right away. Chris Paul is one of the ultimate competitors here in the NBA, and he's one of the best point guards of his generation. We know that Kyrie is going to be out until probably the second half of the season with that torn ACL, and all you really need is a guy just to tread water. If Chris Paul can play 20 minutes a night off the bench, you have Brandon Williams. You can find another veteran minimum guard or even throw Cooper Flagg at the ball handling position for 5 to 10 minutes a night. That's how you have to piece this thing together until you get your killer back in Kyrie Irving. So Paul would be my first option for the Mavericks to sign here in free agency. But let me know what you guys think. What is the Mavericks' biggest need? Do you think it's guard? Is it another position that we're not talking about here? Let me know down there in the comment section what you think the Mavericks' biggest need is. Is Malcolm Brogdon someone you think the Mavericks should sign? Ian Begley of SNY, who's pretty tapped in all around the NBA, says Brogdon is on the list of point guard targets for the Mavericks. Now, he said he doesn't know how high or how much of a priority Brogdon would be, but I wouldn't hate Brogdon, but there's a couple of drawbacks with him. First thing, he's played on 4 different teams in the last 4 years. Last year with the Washington Wizards, he had a couple of injuries, and then in the beginning of March, the Wizards and Brogdon mutually agreed to just shut it down for the rest of the season. So that's why he only played in 24 games last year. Only shot 28.6% from 3 last season as well, despite shooting over 40% from 3 in the 2 seasons past. He was he played fantastic on that Boston Celtics team in 22-23. And he was good for Portland in his limited time there in 23-24. Look, the injury issues absolutely concern me with Brogdon. And while I think he would be a better player than Chris Paul, I'm not sure he'd be the most reliable option for the Mavericks. And right now, I think that's what you're looking for is reliability. The Mavs need someone who's going to be available. And I don't know if I could trust Malcolm Brogdon to be available for 82 games. I just don't see that happening. You know that he's going to get hurt at some point and probably miss an extended period of time. So if I'm Nico Harrison and I'm the Dallas Mavericks, I'm looking for someone that's more available. Chris Paul, 82 games. Malcolm Brogdon, 24 games. I think that's the most important trait and what the Mavericks are looking for right now. So I would pick Chris Paul over Malcolm Brogdon. We'll talk about D'Angelo Russell here in just a moment, but before we do that, go get hooked up with a Cooper Flagg jersey. Our friends at Fanatics have you covered. The second Cooper Flagg was announced as the Mavericks pick, they had these bad boys ready to go. It's chatsports.com/flag. When you go to that link, Fanatics will send us a part of the proceeds, so you can go get a Cooper Flagg jersey and help out the channel right now. They have them in the blue. They have them in the navy blue. They have them in the white as well. All sizes still available last time I checked. So go get hooked up at Fanatics today. Chatsports.com/flag. That link will be in the comments and the description of today's show. Shout out to Fanatics for sponsoring this episode of Mavericks Today. D'Angelo Russell is the third and final name we're going to talk about here. The Mavericks are reportedly a leading suitor for D'Angelo Russell, according to Mark Stein and other reports that have the Mavs eyeing him. Shams Charania has said that the Mavericks are going to sign one of Chris Paul, Brogdon, or Russell. So these are the 3 guys everyone is saying the Mavs are looking at. So that's why we're talking about these 3 guys specifically. D'Angelo Russell is my least favorite name on this list, full disclosure. We've talked about him in the past here on the channel, and he's just a guy I just don't think is very good anymore. Like, look what he did last season with the Lakers and the Nets. He was obviously traded midseason from LA to Brooklyn, and the shooting numbers there are just abysmal. 33.3% from three for the Lakers, under 30% for Brooklyn. He still is averaging a decent amount of points. The assist numbers are okay, but D'Angelo Russell is just too inefficient for me to be a point guard on my team. Now, if you were looking for him in a different kind of role where he's a come off the bench kind of a spark plug type guy there, I'd be interested in that. But at this point, I really view D'Angelo Russell as the same as the Spencer Dinwiddie, basically. And if they're the same, why not go out and get Spencer Dinwiddie? Because he's already been familiar with this roster. He knows the system. He knows what everyone expects of him. And there wouldn't be any growing pains or transition going on with Spencer Dinwiddie. So if it comes down to D'Angelo Russell, I just give the 5.7 mil to Spencer Dinwiddie. I just really don't have any interest in D'Angelo Russell whatsoever. Really hasn't been a winning player any time in his career. The one winning team he was on with the LA Lakers in the conference finals, that was an anomaly. He did have a fantastic year that season, so that's definitely something to take into account. But when we've talked about those three guys, out of those three, I really trust Chris Paul and Malcolm Brogdon more than I do D'Angelo Russell to be a starting point guard night in and night out on a team that's trying to compete in this Western Conference. There are teams that have taken steps back in the West. There are teams like the Spurs who have taken steps up. So the Mavericks have to find their way, and they have to find their way quickly because this window was shortened to about 2 years with Kyrie, with Anthony Davis. Look, those guys have 3 years left on their contract. Kyrie, too, if you count the player option. You're looking at the next 2 seasons as your competitive window. The Mavericks need to maximize that competitive window, and I really believe that if they're going to do that, it's with Chris Paul as this team's point guard for the majority of this season. And then when Kyrie comes back, you can bring Chris Paul off the bench, and you can kind of figure it out from there. But I really believe that starting point guard in October should be the likes of Chris Paul. If it's Brandon Williams, you know what? I'd be okay with that, but that doesn't mean you can't go out and use the taxpayer mid-level on one of these guys and bring them off the bench. I'd prefer Williams to come off the bench, but I think Paul would absolutely be the best option for me. Let me know who your favorite target is out of these three down there in the comment section. If it's CP3, type that. If it's Malcolm Brogdon, type NB. Or if it's D'Angelo Russell, go type D'Lo down in the comment section. That will do it for today's show, guys. Appreciate you for tuning in to Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. When the Mavs make a move, you know where to be. It's right here on youtube.com/MavsTV.